right. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Really happy to see all of you here. Again, if for some reason this gets dropped or you want to watch it again later, we're going to be recording this and it will be up live at losdlogic.org. If you have not seen that site yet, there's lots of great resources for you there, lots of good videos, trying to just keep it up to date as we keep going and keep adding more resources to it. So please, once again, I'll just drop that in the chat if you didn't get it yet, but it is losdlogic.org. And it's a nice website that your support team is putting together for you. So we'll keep working on it as we go. Our Seesaw activities page is coming together, but still under construction as of yet. And let's just talk about what we're going to be doing here today. So Seesaw activities. At this point, I'm thinking that a lot of you have already logged into the community library. You've searched through it. You probably found some lessons that are really good for you. You've copied those lessons. You pushed them out to your students. Your students are already doing some of those activities and pushing them back to you. And I know that because I've been popping in and seeing your classes. So congrats if you've already started walking down this path on your own. You're doing a great job. But today we are going to be joined by Ashley Spear, who is an incredible teacher, was a third grade teacher for a bit with us here in LO, and now is an innovation facilitator at Oak Creek Elementary. She is a Seesaw ambassador, and she's here to share with us some tips on maybe how to take our activities to the next level, maybe deal with some questions about links, maybe deal with some questions about how you get those cool little icons in your activities. And then we'll take some questions and answers, and we'll also maybe talk about some workflow and some tips on how to keep all this stuff organized. So I'm going to stop jabbering away here, and I'm going to give it over to Ashley. And I'll be monitoring the chat while Ashley is sharing her screen and sharing some tips. So Ashley, take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. So good to see you on here. All right, so I'm just going to start here. I'm going to switch here to my entire screen. Go over here to Seesaw. Pulling it up here. Are you able to see it? Is it on? Okay. Okay, so I just want to start at the end and then kind of work our way backwards, looking at an activity. So this is one I made just for area and perimeter. So thinking about the end goal and what I wanted the students to do, I wanted them to be able to watch a lesson on area and perimeter, do the IXL practice for it, and then come back to this activity and respond in an activity. So thinking about that, I kind of started with that in mind and then working our way through. In order to make this, I like to use slides. In order to do it, I just start with a blank template here. Can you still see this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. I wasn't sure if just that tab would open. Okay, so looking here, I just started with the blank slides, put a title in, and kind of just putting steps in here. This is going to be the main part that kids will be able to click on to get those links. So in order to do this, I just added different text box in here. Link different things. So I had my lesson from Khan Academy on area and perimeter, just copied the link in there, or copied the link and then pasted it in on here. Same thing with IXL, found the lesson that I wanted them to do in IXL, and then pasted it right here for their practice. So now I'm ready to take this and create the Seesaw activity. So I went over here to Seesaw, and I'll kind of just start it. And I'm going to just say create new activity. That slide is going to be the part where I say add multimedia instructions or examples. And as soon as it's loading here, I'll get that going. If you haven't already, Chris mentioned the icons. I've shared out a Seesaw icons, and we'll give that a second to load here. Seesaw icon shortcuts. So in the body of the instructions, you can type in the code for what you want of the different icons. I usually always start with the add for them to click add response. And then depending on, I want them to do the label, the text, or draw kind of what you're wanting them to do. So if you haven't already, check that out there.
Just to clarify, so the things we're looking at here, these little codes, as I am typing the instructions to my Seesaw activity, if I just do the colon and then the word and then colon, that will automatically make one of those icons show up. Is that correct?
That is correct. And this is taking forever to load. So I'm going to see what's going on here. So exactly. So when you're typing in the instructions, you would just do the colon, add the code, and then it'll show up with that icon instead of any of the text there. Let's see. Again, here we go. Okay.
Yay.
So let's start by making a title, area and perimeter. And then I'm going to come back to the instructions. I like to save that for the end to make sure I kind of cover it all. So instead, I'm going to say add multimedia instructions or example. And that was in Google Slides. So I'm going to say upload. And I'm going to say down here, I don't know if you can see, it says from Google Drive. And that was a presentation. Should be one of my most recent ones right here. And here it is, area and perimeter. I had more than one slide, I think 4 different slides in there. So it's going to show all of them in. So I need to go through and delete those, and I'll show you that. Because I only want that one to show up in the instructions page. And then the other ones are for their response. So once that's in here, this one was blank, so I'm just going to click the 3 dots on the side. Whoop, that already went there. I'm going to click it again. I'm going to click these 3 dots on the side and say delete because I really just want that one slide in there. If this will go here. Sorry, it's at a snail's pace here. Not going for it. There we go. Okay, and then these are ones that I made for their response, so I don't want it in this part, and I'll show you where I want that in just a minute. So now I'm going to do the green check, and then when students click on that, they'll be able to press view original, and then those will be live links for them. So now I want to think about what I want them to do, and I want them to be able to, once they've done the Khan Academy video, they've tried it out on iExcel, I want them to start creating and showing me what they know. So I'm going to press upload. So what I clicked from here was the template for student response. Then I'm going to press upload. If it's going to go here. Okay, it's being really slow. Let's see. Okay. Already got that part. I'm going to do the green check. Okay, so now I'm done here. I press add template for student response. I'm going to say upload. Same thing from my Google Drive. I like to do it all in one slides document, even though I want one part to go to the instructions and one part to go to the template for student response. I like to have it all in one slides to keep it together. You could have it different, then you wouldn't have to go through and delete those ones, but that kind of gets an idea. So I'm clicking over here to presentations, and then area and perimeter again. Once again, I had that blank slide in the beginning. I just need to delete that. And then I'm going to delete the instruction page also. And then this one here, don't need that in this part. So I'm going to delete that. Okay, so now I made just quick things in Google Slides. I want them to find the perimeter on this page. Everything that I do here in Google Slides, I'm going to flip back. Once I put it into Seesaw, it's like it is laminated on the back of that page. They cannot move it. It is like the background of it. So I had wanted to think about, what do I want kids to be able to manipulate and move versus what I want to be non-movable in there. So I made just 2 different ones for find perimeter and find area. I didn't want them to be able to move anything, so that's why I have those ones there. So now I could go through and have it be more of a matching and have some of the options here. So I could add, if I wanted them to find perimeter, and I have 12 plus 12, 24 plus 16, 40, and want them to take this number and be able to drag it and pull it down, I could leave this here. If I want them to just use their pen and write it, then I would just leave it as is and write that in the instructions that they would take their pen and write it in, or do the T for text and do that. So I'm going to have them do pen. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to do the undo button here. And then same thing for find area. I'll have them do that. But then on the last page that I haven't even added yet, I want them to be able to create their own area and perimeter examples to share with me. So I just said add page at the bottom, a third page came up here, and I want it to be a grid in order to make it easier for them to count and make it. So I'm going to go over here to shapes, backgrounds. I'm going to find the one that's like graph paper. And then I want to write some instructions on here because I want them to create 2 different shapes and then record themselves finding the area and perimeter. So I'm going to do the T for text, and I'm going to say draw 2 shapes. And then I'm going to say press record or press microphone to, little typo, press microphone and record yourself finding the area and perimeter of each. Okay. So then now I'm going to click outside of that to kind of manipulate it and move it. I don't need it so big. I like orange. So I want to move it to that. Bring it up. And then I don't want students to be able to move this part of the instructions. So once I have it in the spot that I want, I'm going to click the 3 dots and say lock. So it's not going to be a movable thing that they can just accidentally move. Students could still press the 3 dots and say unlock. So that's why I like to have on, like how on these ones I have it as the background on it. So they could still unlock it and move it, but it won't change anything. Okay, so then now I'm going to say draw 2 shapes, press microphone, oh, typo, and record yourself. So I'm going to leave that typo for now. So then I might even put like another little text reminder, remember to label your answers, and kind of sneak that in somewhere at the bottom, bring it down here, and I'd also lock that text. I want to give them kind of a reminder of what that might look like to do it. So I'm going to do a text box, another text box, and write area equals and perimeter equals. And maybe I'll do perimeter equals. And so maybe I will make that a different color. So I'm just going to click over here, make one this color, and move it out of the way, kind of down towards the bottom. Oops, sorry. Okay. So maybe move one down towards the bottom. And then I want this to kind of show for one of the shapes. I want to duplicate it again. So instead of having to do that again, I'm going to press the 3 dots, press duplicate. It'll create another one. I'll bring it over here, make it a different color. And then they can edit those. So I'm not going to lock the text because they might want to move it around. But they can go through and like click in the box to be able to answer it and write the area and perimeter for the shapes that they made. So once I'm ready here, I'm going to press that green check. And let's go back and look at how to do those icons really quick. Are we okay on time, Chris?
Oh yeah, we're doing okay on time. And we'll go back and review all the stuff. Just for now, everyone just kind of like sit back and just watch the magic happening. And then we'll go back and kind of review some of the things that we saw.
Okay. So now I like to save the instructions for the end, like I mentioned, because I've already thought through how I want to do it and can put it in here. So the first thing I want students to do is click the link. So I'm going to code that in here, just the link, and that shows that they're going to click that picture. So I'm going to say like link on the left, and then like follow, before they can follow the steps, they need to click view original. So I always like to put that in my instructions because it'll show up and it'll say view original or view doc or view in Google or something. They need to click view original to be able to have those links clickable. If they view docs, it opens up like it's not a presentation. And just like how you would click in a slide, the link would not be live. Anyways, okay. So link, click view original. Then I'm going to say follow steps, 1, 2, 3. And then when they come back to this assignment, I want to talk about what I want them to do on the template. And on the first one, so I might say like page, or when they're ready, they're going to click add. I might say page 1. I want to use, sometimes it's hard on, depending if you're using an iPad, pen works okay. On Chromebooks, it's really hard for kids to use the pen when they're using the trackpad to try and write it. So depending on what you want students to do, I'm going to say use a pen or label to define the perimeter of each shape. And then I'm going to just copy and paste that and just change it to find the area of each shape. If my computer loads here. And then on the third one was a little bit different. So normally you can just highlight it, copy and paste it. I'm going to skip down to page 3. On that third one's a little bit different because I want them to draw their shapes first, and then I want them to use the microphone to explain their thinking on how they're drawing it. So I'm going to say, draw 2 shapes. So with there, use the pen to draw 2 shapes. And then I'm going to use the microphone to explain how you find the area and perimeter of each shape. And hopefully it's just lagging and that'll show up there. So, and then I like to always end with the green check when they're all done. So then for page 2, I'm just going to copy this, change that to page 2 and area. Okay, so now I'm just going to press save, and you'll be able to see it, all those little codes turn into icons when it comes to the instructions. A big part of this, I think, while that's loading, is to really think about what you want in the background to make in slides first versus what you want kids to be able to move and manipulate to have them do that part in Seesaw, or to be able to do that part in Seesaw. Okay, so here it is. You can see the icons on there. Kids will click here on the link here. I'm going to press assign just to kind of show it in action really quick, if it'll work. And, oh, okay, or you can see it. So then they open it up, it clicks here. I'm going to press view original. And then they'll be able to click these links on here. But it looks like it included all 4 of those slides. So I need to go back and check that instead of just that one slide that I wanted. So I'll go back through and look at that. And then when it comes to students will do this template, it'll go like this. They'll click 1, 2, and then 3, but they'll be able to do that. All right.
Wow.
One more thing, I guess, before you're ready to assign this, if you haven't already, making folders is awesome and a great way to kind of keep things organized. So before I assign it, I would press assign, and then in whichever classroom, I'm going to click edit students folders and skills, click folders, and this would be for math. So I'm going to find math, click that, and then do the green check. It's a great way to keep things organized, especially if you're wanting to go through and just look at math, and you can organize them that way.
So let me just back up and try to like review what we just did here. We just watched a really good example of creating your own lesson and using a lot of really cool tools. So the first thing that you did is you thought about what you would like in the background of your student templates, and you made those backgrounds on Google Slides. And then you uploaded it from Google Slides into your template area, right? So that you could use the creation tools of Google Slides, and you could just pop it into the background of your templates, right? But then there was another thing you wanted for your template, and you wanted students to be able to move stuff around. And if they're moving stuff around, you use the Seesaw creation tools in the template so that they could move text boxes and move shapes. That's a really nice tip. Some of those shapes you locked to make sure that the students couldn't move them. Some of the shapes you left open. So like if you were doing a sort activity, you could create shapes and let the students drag and sort those shapes around with Seesaw. So that's a cool thing that you can do as well, just to like drag for like a mix and match. Because I know that some teachers have said that it is difficult to see students writing. So maybe do a mix and match instead, like put the answers on there and let them sort and match. That's another way to kind of look at things. Then what you also did is you put some live links into your slide, and you put that up as your multimedia example so that students could view multiple links. That was cool. And then finally, you went through and you wrote instructions, and you used those little codes to actually pop the icons up, which I think is a really quick and effective way to help students be like, oh yeah, this is the button I press. Oh yeah, this is the button I press. Does that kind of sound like what we just did?
It does. Yeah, that does sound like it. I think, and at first, like using the codes, I like had the code sheet like in one window, and then like had my thing going in another window, but you will get them super fast and have them all memorized, especially those ones that you're using all the time.
Cool. So we've had a couple of questions about organization and folders, and talking about, do students have to create those folders, or could you show how to create a folder and talk a little bit more about why folders are useful and what they're good for?
Yes. Okay, let me go back here. Honestly, I just started using folders more recently as we're getting more into Seesaw. The last couple years, I was like, yeah, folders, but I didn't really use them that much because I didn't have that much stuff going on in Seesaw yet. So really what folders are, you can have them for different subjects. It's an organizational tool for you as a teacher. So it'd be something that you would go through and make. So I'm just here, actually, let me go to my test class here. So I don't have any folders set up in the test class, but how to make a folder, starting here. Actually, I'll go through why first while that's loading. In order, kind of depending on how you like to go through and approve items, there's a few different ways you could do it. You could approve items by folder. So that's what I like to do. If I want to look at all the math that I assigned for the day, and I want to go through and approve them by folder, I can click on unapproved items, which would be down here, and then I would click folders. It's kind of hard, I guess, because I don't have any unapproved items, and then look at folders, and then be able to look at just in the math folder and go through and look at everybody's math assignment. I think, at least for me, that was easier to be able to go through, or if I'm looking at reading fluency, I was able to go through and listen, click unapproved items, click folder, reading fluency, and go through and listen to everybody's reading fluency at one time. You can also go back through to see different things. I'm just gonna, let's see. Renee, you're on here. Can I use your class as an example? Thanks. Okay. So I'm just gonna click here. So a couple things I could look at. Let's see. So the folders are for subjects. And I'm not sure if that's your question, Mary, but the folders are for a way to organize subjects, not for students. Does that make sense? Okay, thanks, Renee. Okay, so now I'm looking here. So let's say I want to go through and I'm going to click unapproved items because I want to look at just what they did in, well, let's say STEM today, or if they have anything in STEM. So before I do that, I'm going to look at, well, it's still loading. So I could click unapproved items, which will show up down here, and then I would click the folders and be able to look at the different subjects. And then if I'm like, okay, I've looked at all of them, they're all approved, I want to just go through and say, okay, let's really take a look at where are we with area and perimeter. I want to look through everybody's assignments with area and perimeter. I can click the folder already in here in class journal, click math. Oh man. Click math, and then, or even more specifically, area and perimeter, if that's how you want to do them, how you want to do it, and then look at all the assignments in there to kind of get an idea of where everyone's at. I can't remember if there is a specific amount of folders that you can have, but you could have very specific ones. In the past, instead of just ELA, I've had one that's reading fluency, I had one that's grammar, I had one that, what else did I have? Like I can't remember what else, but you can have more specific ones than just math. And you can name them whatever you want to name them. Okay, it's taking a while here to load. But hopefully that kind of gives you an overview of folders. It's more for the teacher's organization, for you to either a way to approve them in that subject way, or a way to go back and look at them by subject.
And if we're having trouble with things loading right now, maybe we can just record a quick screencast and post it to losdlogic.org later so that people can go check it out, because it's just not being agreeable right now.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. While we're waiting for stuff to load, does anyone have any other questions? I know technically we have another 5 minutes here. We're scheduled for 5 minutes, but we can run a little bit longer if people have questions. This might be, a place where this video might, create more questions than it answers, because it kind of takes us to the new place, like a next level. So if there's any other questions you have, please feel free to get those into the chat, and we'll take care of them right now. Ashley, while you're waiting for the folders to load, is there any other really good tips when it comes to like looking at or managing posts, or the amount of posts that you're going through, or how do you keep it organized when you're trying to go through posts?
You have to do what works for you. Some people like to just go through every unapproved post, whether that was somebody turned in something for math, somebody turned in something for ELA, and it's all kind of mixed in. Like I mentioned, I like to go through by folders or subjects. So I will go through and press at the very bottom. You'll see the red line that says 87 unapproved items. I'll click unapproved items on that red bar and then click the folders. So then I'll click on just math, and I'll look at all the unapproved ones for math and kind of go through them by subject that way. And then do the same thing, unapproved items, click on folders, and then click on all the ones for ELA from that day. That's how I like to go through and do it, kind of getting my mind wrapped around the subject first and then going from there, versus just kind of wherever kids are and turning them in. Okay, It looks like this loaded. So I'm able to click, let's say STEM. And this is going to show me all the students post in STEM. And it's still really slow.
Wow.
So doing that. It knows it's like on the spot right now and getting nervous.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, it's going.
Okay, so it looks like a question here is asking about the red dots with numbers next to the person's name. Those are different notifications. So if you see on my screen here, I have 17,029 notifications. Well, I think this is answering your question. That could be the different things in the announcements or inbox. It could be that a student is trying to edit or comment on their work. Honestly, I don't look at that number very much. Because I'm connected as the innovation facilitator, I'm connected to 24 classes, well, 23 because one of them's a test class, but 23 different classes. And so I'm getting the 800 notifications a day, like per class, looking through those. But in the classroom, though, you can look at it. Yours probably won't be as much because you're constantly looking at your inbox and seeing the different announcements. So like 744, which probably means those are kids that are posting or wanting to add a comment, or parents liking something, those kinds of things. I hope that answers the question of the red dots.
And if I can address Kristen's question about, can you put a post that is previously done and turned in, can you put that into a folder as well? And the answer is yes, you can. If you find the post, just click the 3 dots in the corner, and there will be an option to edit folders. And then you can go and just throw it into any folder that you want to throw it into.
Yeah. A big tip I have for that, you can totally do it after and go back through. But when you are assigning your activity, is to add the folder then, because once you do it in the activity, every response will automatically go into that folder. But if you don't do it when you assign the activity, you'll have to do each student individually to put it into the folder. So let's see if this is going. So how I was talking about approving them, I would go here to review, and then my folder icon will come up here with just, instead of class journal, it'll say unapproved items or unapproved posts. And then I'll click the folders again from there. and it's still super slow. So anyways, I press review, and then this same folder icon right here, but it'll say unapproved posts, and then click on the subject from there. Yes, older kids can go back and put anything into the folders too. Well, anybody could do that, but yeah, you can teach them to go back and add different things to folders.
But I want to put a little note on that, is that if your settings in your class are set to certain things, like students can add to a folder or teachers can add to a folder, so there are different folder permissions that you can have. So just double check your class settings and make sure that when you're creating that group, that students are actually able to add to the folders.
If the editing is turned off, they would not be able to go back and do that either.
Yeah. You have found specialist responses to specialist activities in your homeroom stream, in your homeroom folder, and you don't know why. It's probably because that activity was just assigned to that folder, or it wasn't assigned to a folder in the first place. So we're all trying to get better at this. Ashley,
Another thought I have about that, Chris, is I've noticed on some activities that students are maybe accidentally unclicking a folder or clicking a folder. So like on a STEM post, they were also clicked that it was like STEM and music or STEM and reading. So I think that that could be that a student was accidentally doing that, but also as teachers are trying to get that routine of adding it to a folder before we assign it.
Hey, Ashley,
Okay.
in the journal, and I'm not seeing, oh, because we're in unapproved post right now. Sorry, were you going to talk about the unapproved post thing?
Well, now that this loaded, you can see here unapproved items. I can click this folder icon and it'll show up all those different folders. And so then I can click whatever subject I want to look at and be able to go through those unapproved items in just that folder.
So the process there again was to click on that red bar on the bottom of your screen to take you to your unapproved items. And then once you're in the unapproved items, then you click the folder. And then whatever folder you click in there, you'll just see the unapproved items that are associated with that folder. So that's a nice way to organize the activities that you are going through. But if you're going to use folders, make sure that you're assigning your assignment or your activity to a folder in the first place, so that all your assignments and all your posts go there as well.
It looks like another question here. So kids can click on those folders more than one before they respond. So sometimes there's kind of two different things. If they're adding a post just from their journal, they just do that green plus and say add. It'll ask them, I think it will. It'll ask like, what folder do you want to add this to a folder? And they can click one, or they can do the green check to not add it to a folder. In activities though, how it's happening is that if it's in the folder already and they've already responded as an activity, if they press the three dots, they can say edit folders, and then that's when they can accidentally click or purposely click on one of those subjects.
Yeah. So we are just having a lot of trouble getting stuff to load right now. And I think it's because we have just like so many people like on this meet, and there's just like a lot of stuff going on. But what we will do on losdlogic.org, we're going to post this video to the main page so people can rewatch it. We're also going to start posting little tutorial videos around like, here's how you use folders and here's how you use icons. And so we'll be getting some of that stuff together on the Seesaw page right on that website. So you can go through and start clicking through some of those. Also know this is, these things, these aren't to answer every question that they have. They're just a good chance to have a discussion and to talk about a couple things and to show you a couple neat tricks. But everyone's questions are different. So I want to offer up that I am here. Ashley is here for you. If you have questions, you can feel free to email us and we'll get back to you, or we'll work with you or have a private meet with you as well. We'll do a little bit more on workflow in the coming weeks, trying to make it easier for you. But in the meantime, feel free to just connect with us. But to respect everyone's time, we're going to be signing off, I think, now. And if you have other questions, please let us know. But we're glad that you joined us and took another little step down towards like making our activities a little better place. So we will definitely get back to you. But if you got to take off, take off. Ashley, if you want to stick around and answer a couple more questions that are coming in on the chat, go for it.
Great.
Cool.
Barb, are you still there? Yeah. Do you want to talk about the music folder thing? You're on mute.